Blend it in. We need to make sure.
Good morning, Jason Yorks.
Good morning, Jason.
Morning, Jason.
Morning, Jason.
Who else do we have on the line?
This is Bob Raleigh from the Sun Gazette newspaper. Who was that last one?
The solicitor. Breaking up.
You're breaking up.
Okay. I'll try to do better, sir.
There you go.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Ask you to please rise for our prayer and pledge of allegiance. Dear gracious God, we gather this morning to conduct the business you have before us. We pray that you'll provide us clarity and wisdom in our decisions. May they be aligned in what your will is for our constituents. Father, help us to be good listeners to those we serve. We ask you for your continued blessings on each of us. We thank and praise you for the improvements we have seen regarding the pandemic. We pray for a full recovery for those who have been afflicted in so many ways. These things we humbly pray in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'll convene the Commissioners' Public Meeting and ask for the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll move to approve.
Second?
All in favor, say
Aye.
Aye.
aye. Aye. Ask for public comment on agenda items only at this time. If you please come forward and state your name for the record.
I'll take the mask off.
Yes, please, when you come up to the podium. Thank you.
John Sharman, resident of Lycoming County. There was great controversy last week about the proposed flood protection for up on Lycoming Creek Road. I'm not here to criticize anybody, but to get some views. If there is an added cost of $189,000 for the flood project up on Lycoming Creek Road, and it is not over budget, what is the total cost projected to be for the project up on Lycoming Creek Road? There was certainly a mistake made in what the total construction was going to be for the building. Even if the cost of the flood wall did put it over budget, Lycoming County cannot afford to walk away from the project, because if you do, you're flushing $250,000 down the drain in the process. If you complete the project without construction of the wall and go against the regulations that have been set down by FEMA and by Old Lycoming Township, what you're telling Old Lycoming Lycoming Township and the residents of Lycoming County, we're only going to pay attention to what regulations we want to obey. Okay? And as far as any businesses in the flood area, I invite the county sheriff to go along with me, including you two county commissioners, and show you an area that's within about 2 hours, less than 2 hours from here, an area that it has many businesses, many major businesses located in a flood area, and they have done construction according to what's been laid down, I believe, and it is thriving, what they had to do in order to keep their businesses above floodplain, from starting from brand new. And I would invite you all to go with me, and I can show you. The business is thriving. What's your answer?
Starting from brand new?
Huh?
Did you
Yeah.
say starting from brand new?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't starting from brand new.
Well, but there's still, there are FEMA regulations that are laid down for this. Everybody has to buy with them, okay? And like I said, if you want to go and not put the flood wall up, you could, on final inspection, be rejected and not get an occupancy permit. And if you don't go through with it, you might be able to get your construction permit yanked too. And there ain't too much you could do. So you're setting a dangerous course for things if you continue to go and vote and not doing it. Okay? As I said, you are committed and you can't walk away from it. So do it and do it right according to regulations. Even though it's going to cost $189,000. Okay? Tough pill to swallow. But we had another building the county wanted to do for the district justices down in Muncie, between Muncie and Hughesville. And that ran well over budget, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? But what we'll do, if you go and you decide to construct that up there without that flood wall around it, you're setting yourself up for dangerous precedents down the road when somebody wants to come in and build something and say, well, you only chose to obey the regulations you wanted to. Now we want to do the same thing. Okay?
John, let me clarify. At no time did I say I would not comply with the regulations. I said I would not vote for the project.
Okay, but I'm just pointing out if you don't vote for the project, what's going to happen. Okay?
And there were offers after we purchased that to buy it back from us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are certain things that you are not aware of that we are.
Yeah.
And so is that an option? And, you know, I'll make another comment. I will have a few things to say about that. But we asked FEMA and PEMA, Bill, yesterday about what is the intent of the regulation. Okay?
Tony, I'm here right now. If you want to reply, you don't take my time up. That's what commissioners' comments are for.
Well, John, your time is up. You've
Okay,
had your 3
thank you.
minutes.
Thank you,
And we'll
John.
be glad to answer your questions. I believe your questions will be answered when we get to the agenda part of the, when we vote on the wall today, I believe. And if their questions aren't answered, you'll have the opportunity at the end with the public
I'm
comment.
going to leave because the weather's getting bad.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to find fault with anybody today.
I understand that. I
But
understand
I've
that.
gone from my past construction and what my background and what I know.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And how about the offer to go where I showed you what this area is?
I just want to say that the questions will be addressed throughout the meeting when we get to that agenda item. If they're not, and if you don't feel free to stay, you can ask next time. Where you welcome the calls on the
That's not answering my
phone.
one question. I'm inviting you to go to an
Okay.
area and show you that it's thriving, that they paid attention to the flood regulations, and it is within an hour and a half direct distance.
John, I don't think it's in anybody's intentions to defy regulation. It's to see what the best option is for the county. And that's why it was being explored. It's tabled for 1 week, so
Yeah,
other
I know it
options
was.
could
That's
be,
why I'm here today.
so other options could be explored, and they've been explored, and we'll talk about that today. Thank you. Have a good day. Any other public comment at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the proclamation, and Commissioner Marabito.
Good morning. This is a proclamation celebrating Sunshine Week. I want to make two quick comments. First, in the past, the commissioners have celebrated Sunshine Week, and this year it would have slipped by us, except for the reminder from Carrie Pauling of North Central PA, the news director there, and I want to thank her for that. And second, I want to thank both Carrie and Bob Raleigh and Laura Jansen of the Sun Gazette for contributing to the text of the proclamation. And I think that they're both going to join us today with comments. And also, I believe Larry Stout is here from the Web Weekly, and I'm sure that he will too. So let me get to this proclamation for a very important week. Proclamation celebrating Sunshine Week. Whereas the currently enacted version of Pennsylvania's Sunshine Act developed from legislation introduced in and originally passed by the Senate in 1998, and whereas Pennsylvania's Right to Know law also has its genesis in the Senate, with legislation introduced and passed as Senate Bill 1 in 2008, and whereas both the Sunshine Act and the Right to Know law ensure public access to government information through public meetings and public documents, and whereas public access to meetings and the records is fundamental to our residents' ability to be well informed of government action and to hold government officials accountable and to be productive, responsible citizens. Whereas the Sunshine Act requires public agencies to hold public meetings anytime a quorum deliberates agency business or takes official action, and requires public agencies to allow the public to comment on matters of agency business and to record public meetings. And whereas the Sunshine Act and the rights it affords are key to the March 16th birthday of James Madison, the fourth President of the United States, who drafted the Bill of Rights, including the guarantee of a free press in 1791. Whereas the Right to Know law is based on the presumption that records in possession of government agencies are public records and must be provided to the public within the framework of the law. And whereas the Right to Know law provides residents with a fair, simple, no-cost method to appeal when a request has been denied, therefore be it resolved that all residents of the County of Lycoming are urged to join in this observance of the basic principles of an open and accessible government in a free society. Signed, Lycoming County Commissioner Scott L. Metzger, Chairman, Tony Armistead, Vice Chairman, Richard Marabito, Secretary. Mr. Chairman, I think there's some folks here who would like to make some comments that are online now.
Okay, feel free to. Just identify yourselves, please.
Bob, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. This is Bob Raleigh, the Williamsport Sun-Gazette. Joining me is Laura Jansen, our editor. I want to thank the Lycoming County Commissioners for this resolution and for inviting local media to speak. I simply want to say briefly that access to government information is critical to every American who cares about the quality of his or her community, state, and nation. Getting that information, though, requires public meetings where residents can ask questions. It's critical we hold government accountable for better or for worse. It's also very important to acknowledge when government leaders are doing a good job. It's important to see government employees, including elected officials, as the people we hire through our tax dollars to do a good job for all of us. In the end, the Sunshine Act and the Right to Know laws forge a partnership between the free press and the government. Together, we must work hard to make it work for everyone's benefit. Thank you to all our public servants, and thanks for this time today.
Thank you, Bob. Laura, would you like to say anything?
I think Bob covered it very well.
Hi, Laura. I didn't see you back there with your mask.
It's okay,
Yeah.
I'm hiding.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. Anyone else from the press? Yes.
I would like to say something. I'm Carrie Pauling with NorthCentralPA.com.
Could you come up, please, to the microphone?
Sure.
That way we can hear you and everybody can see you.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you, Carrie.
Good morning, everybody. NorthCentralPA.com exists to inform the public, and it's the reason our local independent news website was founded more than 12 years ago, and as we've evolved and grown, it's our continued mission. Sometimes it's a bit of an unforgiving job, so what motivates a reporter? Just from my perspective and my staff, it's the opportunity to tell stories, uplifting stories about people who are achieving and doing good things, also revealing ones about injustices or liberties taken, sometimes by the very people we elect to fulfill our trust. It's necessary to shine the light on both the good and the bad. That's why I'm really thankful to you all. Commissioner Marabito on the phone, Metzger and Musser, thank you. To recognize Sunshine Week in a proclamation, you're affirming that it's important, critical really, to bring awareness to the work that news reporters do every day. Sunshine laws and Right to Law knows say that public documents and meetings are and should be accessible. The Constitution says it's the public's right to know what's happening. It's not always easy to access official sworn documents, especially during the pandemic when offices are closed and people are working remotely. Access to public information can be limited by circumstance, but also by choice. My reporters don't give up. I know other local media does not give up. We sincerely appreciate your support today. Thank you for recognizing Sunshine Week.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
Mhm.
We are very blessed in this area. We have a very good paper. That we have apps on our phone. We get the paper before it's out on our front porches, and we get the web weekly, and your medium of communication to us, which has picked up tremendously over the past decade. I know several of my friends, go right to your online paper. When the press, when there is a fear that the press is not allowed to do their job, then we must be very fearful of the fact that we're losing control of our government. And what I'm more concerned about today than any other time in my life is what is truly the press and what is opinion broadcasting. I believe the American people are influenced by opinion news versus the work that you do for us. And it is it's a very scary time because it can divide our nation just like that. Where we used to look at these organizations as a place to get news, they're no longer a place to get news, just their opinions. And so to have you in our communities and to be able to rely upon what you report, sometimes we don't agree, okay, but regardless, that is the fact. That's the news that the American people need to hear from, and thank you very much.
Yes, we want people to have the truth. We don't want people to have propaganda. And it's important to have the truth, and it's important to have the facts. And it's vital that we get the information to our constituents. I was a servant next door in the probation office for 32 years. I was a public servant. I am a public servant now. I serve the people. They put me in this office. And when they respond to me and they ask me questions, I'll answer them. We've had probably, 200 to 300 emails recently on a subject. And I've responded to every one of those emails. And because if they took the time to write us, they deserve an answer. And it might not be the answer they want to hear, but we'll give them the answer according to the law and what the best answer we can provide. And that's why it's so important to get the information out. The Sunshine Law is vital, and we'll continue to honor it and go by it. Mr. Marabito?
Yeah, is there anyone else in the audience before I don't want to, is there anyone else in the audience that wants to speak about
Mr.
it?
Stout?
I do. No, okay. So, it's amazing how the exchange of information has changed since James Madison in 1791. And I think one of the hardest things about living is for us to sometimes be grateful for that which we can take for granted. Certainly in 1791, when James Madison drafted that, he had lived through a time when you couldn't put out a paper that you wanted. Presses were destroyed. You could be imprisoned and lose your head for writing blasphemy against the king. And blasphemy against the king was anything the king didn't agree with. So you could even, lose your head for doing things like St. Thomas More did, which was trying to uphold the law. So I think the hardest thing for us to try to get our constituents to understand is to never take for granted that which we have from other people struggling. Whether it's in the economic realm or it's in the realm of access to information. So I think that as commissioners, we can be proud. We have done over the years a number of things, from publishing the wages that employees make every week. We put that out there, and it causes sometimes consternation among our employees because they say, well, why is that person making that much? But we do that because that's the right of the public to know where their tax dollars are going. We've been trying to live stream meetings, and we've been more successful at it. We've been publishing reports about personnel actions. I guess we've been trying. I think what I would ask the media to do is continue to ask us the hard questions. A couple of months ago, we had a press conference, and North Central PA was there, and I said to them afterwards, I appreciated that they asked us some tough questions. They asked us questions that we, probably were thrown off a little by. But I really beseech you and the web and the Sun Gazette, ask the tough questions of us. Challenge us to be more open. Because the only way we can grow together as a community, as my colleagues have said, is that if people have the facts, and then they can make informed decisions from the facts. And we count on you, as Bob Raleigh said, as a partnership in the sense. But sometimes it's not feels good. It doesn't feel good always to ask the tough questions. But I really hope you'll continue to do that. I certainly will respect you no matter what question, and I know my colleagues will too, because that's who we are. So anyway, I think it's great that we're able to do this, and thanks very much for all of you who brought it to our attention, as I mentioned earlier.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, moving on to 2.0, Accounts Payable Cash Requirements Report with Nikki Gottschall.
Morning, Commissioners. The cash requirements is 2.6 million.
Mhm.
Did you have any questions about it?
Okay, and large,
Most of it was pass-through grants.
yes,
That I saw.
83% of it.
Yeah, yep.
I believe we had, in that last payment, we had 22 veterans that passed. And they're passing at an alarming rate. I said this before, I truly believe that they are going to die with knowledge that our youth need to hear. So ask your grandfathers, your grandmothers about the tough times that those soldiers had overseas protecting us and our freedoms. They're not going to be here for much longer. And it is alarming how many have passed at least over the last 5 years.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions on the cash requirements? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So
Thank
carried.
you.
Thank you.
Roxanne Greco, 3.0 TDA action, TDA actions.
Good morning, Commissioners. The TDA actions that we're asking for today are changes in the Commissioner's office, the removal of one part-time Clerk 1 pay grade 2 position, effective immediately. In planning, the reclassification of one part-time Clerk 1/2 pay grades 2-3 to a part-time Clerk 3 pay grade 4, effective March 21st, 2021. And finally, in the District Attorney's Office, the reclassification of one part-time Clerk 1 pay grade 2 position to a part-time Clerk 3 pay grade 4, and that also effective March 21st, 2021.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to accept TDA
I'll move to
actions?
approve the TDA action.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Moving on to personnel actions, in the Controller's Office, Matthew J. Tierney, full-time replacement general accountant, pay grade 9, $42,601.69, effective March 22nd, 2021. In the District Attorney's Office, Gabriella L. Wise, part-time reclassification to a Clerk 3, pay grade 4, $15.69 hourly, not to exceed 1,000 hours annually, effective March 21st, 2021. In planning, Christine R. Gartelman, part-time reclassification to a clerk 3, pay grade 4, $13.09 hourly, not to exceed 1,000 hours annually, effective March 21st, 2021.
Okay, any questions?
So, Mr. Chairman, those two part-time reclassifications, and Ms. Grieco, you can, I think, just correct me if I'm wrong, those are to bring people up to the level that other people are at doing the same work, right?
Correct. I think it was a review of our clerk 1, 2s that are actually performing at the clerk 3 level. And
Right.
we took care of the full-time, we did a review of the part-time.
Right.
So this should.
So they're doing the same work and they had been in a different pay grade. So we're
That's-
trying to correct that inequity.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion to accept the personnel actions.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So carried. We'll recess the Commissioners' Public Meeting at this time. And,
The Salary Board with Roxanne.
Commissioners, we're asking you to approve the following changes to the salary schedule in the Commissioner's office, removing the 1 part-time clerk 1 pay grade 2 effective immediately. In planning, to reclassify 1 part-time clerk 1/2 pay grade 2-3 position to a part-time clerk 3 pay grade 4 effective March 21st, 2021. And finally, in the District Attorney's Office, to reclassify 1 part-time clerk 1 pay grade 2 to a part-time clerk 3 pay grade 4 effective March 21st, 2021.
okay, discussion or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll move to. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So carried. And at this time, we'll
Thank
adjourn
you.
thank you, we'll adjourn the Salary Board actions, and we'll reconvene the Commissioners' Public Meeting at this time.
Moving on to action items, 7.1 and 7.2, Maya Toon. She's on the line.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Maria Maya?
The first item I have for you is to vote on the purchase of flags from Flag Zone LLC. It's in the amount of $11,138.40. This is a 2021 budgeted item for the Veterans Affairs Office.
And these are the flags that are placed on the grave sites?
That is correct.
Okay.
And we are actually purchasing 18,720 flags that would cover for the military events that occur throughout the year.
Okay. I'd like to make,
And if there was,
go ahead.
no, I was going to say, if there's anyone out there that would like to help place the flags on them, I'm sure if you called the military, our Lycoming County Veterans Office, they'd be happy to have you join because they always like getting folks from the community involved.
I was gonna say that for the past couple of years, Mentors Little League has participated in this. I've taken the kids down. We call it Place the Flag for a Hero, and we have the kids. We take the flags out, and it's a great education for the kids. I tell them to look down and look at the name, try to remember the name and the war that hero was involved, and then to go research that war and what it meant to America, and it gives them a good education. It's very humbling, and it's just a great time for the kids to give back and learn about these heroes. As Commissioner Massari talked about, we have to educate our youth about our military and about our true heroes and what they've done and the ultimate sacrifice. So I know other leagues have done this. The Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts do it. So anyone that has a group, or especially the kids, we placed probably 2,000 flags on a Saturday morning at the cemetery we were at. And we'll continue to do so, and we get more and more kids each year involved. And I would encourage any group of any age to be involved. It's a great experience, and I know the families truly appreciate it. And when you get done and you look over those cemeteries and you see those flags fly, it touches you. Any other comment? Okay, I have a motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 The next item I have for you is to vote on the award of the invitation to bid to construct the flood wall at MDJ Solomon's location, new location, which is at 2107 Lycoming Creek Road. We are seeking to award to turnkey construction. It's in the amount of $189,500. Again, a 2021 budget item, and this particular bidder came in at the lowest bid.
Okay, last week we had tabled this so that we could have some additional questions asked, see if there's any other more economical ways we could approach this. We met yesterday with FEMA and PEMA, and I believe all the answers were, all the questions were answered. And I know Commissioner Massaro will make some statements about this. So I'll turn it over to him, and then Commissioner Marabito, if you have any you'd like to add.
Sure, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. As I've stated before, this is not just about that project. It's a much broader subject. First of all, I'd like to thank Bill Bradford from PEMA and Charlie Baker from FEMA for taking their time yesterday. They gave us an hour or whatever time we needed. They have a very difficult job, especially now with the pandemic and the vaccine. So again, thank you for your time. We started off by giving a brief history of Lycoming County and where we stood as far as our average household income. And in the 2019, the median household income in Lycoming County was $54,531, which if you break it down, you're looking at about $7,000 per person. It's below the poverty level. The people below the poverty level are 18,494. Above the poverty level, 111,112 people. And so when you look at it that way, for every 7 people that you look at, you're looking at someone who is making below the poverty level for income. And we told them about the projects over the past 15 years, that some were mandated, some were not. But when you start to think about how much money that was spent by our communities, it's astronomical. Just alone in our sewer treatment plants, over $250 million. They're talking about a public safety building now for $9 million. The communication towers and the microwaves, we spent over $21,000 for public safety just in communications. We're looking at proposing a $4.5 million project for the corner. We built a new airport for $17.5. The bridge bundling program is over $8 million. And we can't even tell you the cost that our citizens paid for the Bigger Waters Act, for the National Flood Insurance Program. We don't live in a community that has a high income. But we do have a pretty good quality of life, and we understand what their jobs are, and that's to protect the environment. But we also ask them, do you create regulations to be punitive to its people? And obviously the answer to that is no. And so then you ask, what was the intent of the regulation? And the intent of the regulation was to reduce their risk in paying out claims. And as far as I'm concerned, how could Lycoming County do any follow the intent of the regulation anymore by saying we wouldn't use their money if it did get flooded? I only bring that up because we may have lost this battle, but we called the congressman and we asked him to look into some of the things that may be able to influence the agencies. Like looking at the disclosures for a piece of property that you're going to buy. Should that be in as disclosed as to the cost associated with if you purchase this property in the flood zone? Or looking at meeting the intent of the regulation itself. These are things that they assured us they were looking at currently, if I'm not mistaken, Shannon. So they do have a finger on the pulse of some of their regulations. So when you take a look at the picture, and you may or may not be able to see this if you're witnessing it, but this is after we removed the wall and we saw the flood line. Now, it's a little exaggerated. I would think that the water probably got up to the very dark edge because dry wicks up wet. So it looks like it's higher than what it probably really was. But regardless, to be able to put a barrier on this without a wall we would not get an engineer to approve it. And the reason why is because as that rose, so did the water within inside the building, which balanced out the pressure. And if we just put a vapor barrier, we put up the weather guard and other things that would make it impermeable, the structure itself, the metal structure probably would not hold up. So I understand the purpose of the wall now.
Okay, and the question that you had asked about whether a portable wall would be allowable, they denied that. They said that was not an option.
Yeah.
That was one of the questions you had asked.
And I mentioned the history and what we've spent in the past 15 years, and there's many, many, many more. But every little amount matters. So the $189,000 matters when it comes to placing it to something of more importance. You know, I'm not going to say protecting your buildings aren't important, but you can build buildings. Residents build buildings or got very creative, especially if they were repetitive flooding areas. They got very creative in how they could remove, a wainscoting, what types of insulation, how to mitigate it once you have the flood. You could go in and take care of it within days, and that's what people around here are used to. I guess the last statement is this, I started my business 33 years ago. I risked everything. Had $26,000 in cash, borrowed $100,000. If I would have purchased that building, I would have had to declare bankruptcy because I would not have known this. But when you start to look at the overall picture, things are so expensive, and you hear the PPP, public-private partnerships. To me, that means it's too costly for people just to do it alone. They need government intervention and funding, and that's a dangerous slope. I believe, as I see it today, with all the requirements and all the engineering, you're seeing a separation of the middle class. You start to see them moving into the poor, and the rich get richer because they're the only ones that can afford these regulations.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Maravito?
Yeah, I just want to help the public understand what went on here. A constituent after the last meeting where the question was raised about the 8 checks and balances had called me and said, why did you go ahead with this? So to understand that all three of the current board and Commissioner McKernan on the last board were grappling with the problem of where do we relocate MDJ Solomon when his lease expired. That building had been rented by the county for 40 years. We knew that the magistrate would be around, not necessarily Magistrate Solomon, but someone for 100 years. And so we were looking for something that we could, not continually pay rent and so forth and be subject to rent increases, et cetera. So we had a challenge because we had to be in the MDJ's jurisdiction, which meant it had to be on a bus line, it had to have police coverage. We must have looked between, a little less with Commissioner Metzger because he was at the beginning of it or the tail end of it, but with the last board, we must have looked at 15 buildings and sites, and it was, we had certain limitations. We couldn't just go all over the county, So it's been hard, I think, for us to remember what happened, and so I went and I reviewed the documents again, and because I think that there's been a little misunderstanding about whether we knew. I don't want people to think that we go and off and sign a document without knowing. We did know, but we also were hoping, I think, that maybe we could try to either get it done for as little as possible. And by the way, when I go back and look at the budget, one of the reasons that it's within the budget is because we budgeted for mitigation. The documents say, if you look at the sales agreement, it says, quote, water in the basement during the flood of 1996. And that was signed by Commissioner Messer and I right at the end of December 1999. The closing was in February 7th of 2020. We could have gotten out of it between that signing of that document and the February 7th closing. We could have gotten out by either just saying we didn't want to go through the deal or there were things with the building we didn't like. But I think that the three of us said, look, where are we going to go? We had time pressures because the lease was expiring, and the lease had actually previously expired, and we had to sign another 2-year lease. Now, since that time, George Hutchinson has graciously said that he would work with us. But 2 years ago, we had to sign a 2-year lease, and we actually had a 10% wage increase in the rent. So I think that we budgeted it, and I applaud Commissioner Messer for arranging the meeting yesterday with PEMA and FEMA. The point is that we need to bring these issues. We also need to be cognizant of the fact that we need to make our floodplain and these areas habitable, because when we simply go the route of tearing down buildings, we erode the real estate tax structure. So, to simply say, let's tear down these buildings and turn them into parks and so forth, doesn't help the community be able to sustain the tax structure it needs to be able to provide services. So while the $189,000 is certainly a lot of money, it's obviously a lot less than the other bid. I think we had put, I thought we had estimated $250 for remediation. Another colleague thought that it was about $200,000, and that's why it's coming in in the budget. And so this constituent has said to me, "Well, you said that you would still go through with it," and I said yes, because we did our due diligence in trying to solve a problem that had a lot of boxing in of what we could do. So I hope that the public understands that we don't waste money. All three of us are very cognizant of the fact that this is a lot of money. We're also aware of the fact that we have responsibility over the long term, meaning the next 60 years, to try to solve a problem. So that's all I would say. It would be nice if it wasn't that much, but on the other side, we did pay a lot less for the building than we had other buildings that we were looking at that were 3 times the cost. This building was $245,000. And other buildings, before we even went in to do any renovation, and to start with, building something new was going to be expensive. So I just wanted to make those points, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I just want to add, yesterday when we talked to PEMA and FEMA, I had asked them, about is there any discussion on instead of painting the entire area with a broad paintbrush, would they consider breaking down areas that have had floods For instance, this building was, it's been flooded once here in '96. We had a great deal of unusual weather effects that day. We had I think about a 60-degree day. We had a foot of snow in the mountains. We had ice jams. And you brought all that together, that caused that flood to be as catastrophic as it was. And, or do you have the same regulations if someone lives along a creek? And they said that they are looking into this and they are adjusting that, and they would come out with different phases in the future of where your house or business was located. So that was encouraging to hear that as they look at that. Just don't paint any area with a broad paintbrush. The other thing is, when I met up there with everybody in August when we started the renovations, I had asked our head of our maintenance, this is a building that isn't a normal building. This is a district justice office. So there's a lot of extra expenses involved in it. Security doors, it's a secure facility. It's not just a normal office building. So I said to Ken, can you do this project for under $650? And he said yes. So that's the budget line I was looking at when I decided to go ahead and vote for it. When we sat up there in August and decided whether we were going to sell the building or move forward, and we are staying within that budget. I had been up there 2 weeks ago with Ken and the director, and I asked him, "Are you still under that 650, even with the flood wall?" And he goes, "Yeah, we had flood mitigation money's built into the budget, even with the purchase price, the flood mitigation, and the renovations. We're still under that 650." So that's encouraging to know, and that's what our target is. So hopefully that'll answer Mr. Shireman's question. Okay. Any other comment or questions? Hearing none, can I have a motion for action item 7.2?
I move to approve the ITB contract to construct the flood wall.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Maya. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
7.3 was Shannon Rossman to vote on agreement with Montgomery Water Authority.
Morning, Shannon.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Shannon Rossman with the Planning and Community Development Office. The agreement you have before you is regarding the Timber Run Industrial Park with the DSI, which we were calling Digger, for the purchase of the property. As part of the agreement, we need to bring infrastructure to the property boundary lines. We've been working with Montgomery Water Authority and RMS, our landfill, to come up with an agreement that will account for the current water tank that we have, along with the addition of the new water transmission main and providing potable water. Our estimated cost now, as they get into the more design and things like that, we may have some minor changes, but our estimated cost right now from Larson Design for this project is $574,200, and we are very confident that this will be able to be completed by the end of this year.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to make a comment here, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Back in 2012, when the legislature created the Act 13 monies, this is part of the reward Lycoming County received through that. Unlike other counties throughout the state, okay, that receive very little Act 13, if any, okay, we were kind of like in the heart of the Marcellus Shale. And this project goes at a great cost to the taxpayers. Mm-hmm. This is not cheap, and it's into the millions.
Right.
Okay? We're utilizing Act 13 funds to help promote economic development in our area. When you take a look at Digger, who's moving in here and what they're doing, and the average income per job,
great.
It's fantastic.
150 jobs, the majority of which are 40,000 or more a year. That's
Yes.
incredible.
And, you know, I always like to say, the staff, people that work for the county, for the citizens, you know, they are the foundation of the county. They're here, they stay with us. And politicians are elected, and hopefully they have a vision to you know, pass things that will benefit our community. We're very fortunate that we have an expert staff. Again, we've heard it again, time and time again, how many these companies say, boy, we were very grateful that we're here in Lycoming County because you have such an expert staff. And it made this project a lot easier. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there were a number of hurdles, and I'm hoping that there's no other obstacles that come before us on this. But with that amount of employment, we were willing to spend that to bring them here.
And it's important that we use those monies to help our infrastructure. Right now, we have $18 million in that Act 13 account. Greene County has $1 million in their Act 13 account because they've squandered their monies. There was a recent article on how they've squandered their monies in that county. None of those commissioners are trying to put some of the new monies aside to help with infrastructure projects, to help with things that county needs. But we've been wise with our monies, and this is one good project that, you know, you want to build the infrastructure. That could be a corridor to more development over there. We have other entities that are businesses that are interested in the remaining property. Hopefully they'll come to Lycoming County. We're very excited about Digger. We're going to have our closing on March 25th, and he looks to be up and operating by the first quarter of 2022. And he chose our county. He was looking between us and another state. So due to the work of the planning department and Jason Fink with the chamber and Director McDermott and commissioners, this has been a year-long project that's going to be exciting when we break ground over there.
And we're also looking for additional grant funds to help extend and our match of the Act 13 funds. We don't want to rely entirely on the Act 13 funds. So hopefully we'll be able to get some additional grant funds that will help extend those funds.
Great.
You know, I just want to add, I think we do want to say thanks to Jason Fink, who's been literally manning the phone around the clock to make sure that he's always able to respond to the gentleman from Digger, who I think is from Indiana.
Yes, state of Indiana.
Yeah. So, and as commissioner, so we do thank him. We do thank Jason for doing that, and that kind of responsiveness is what gets a person in Indiana who's looking around for a place to put a factory, you know, put a place that'll build his product in our county. And then I think, as you all have said, the ability of our planning department and the taxpayers should realize that by having that, I call it the intellectual capacity at the county planning, the people who can do all the things that Shannon is describing, you know, obviously working with our director and others, but who can put all the pieces of the puzzle together to effectuate the development and the job creation that the private sector is going to do is so important. So it is a good day, and it is good, as you said, commissioners, that we have the Act 13, and hopefully we'll be able to get some grant money when the state and others see that, hey, we're leveraging our funds this way. But we have to have infrastructure there if we expect to bring businesses to the county, because, you know, obviously, as one of the commissioners said, looking here and looking at another county, if we can't give them water, they're going to say, hey, got to go somewhere where we can get water. You know, and I say that with tongue in cheek, but it's right. It's so basic. So that's good news. Shannon, thank you for the hard work of the folks in your department.
You're welcome, and RMS has been extremely helpful in this, so thank you, Jason Yorks and Michael Natton.
Yes. Shannon, when does he plan on completing the building?
The building has been ordered as far as I know, and the first quarter of 2022, I believe, is when they hope to be moving in and up and running. Construction timeframes are a little backed up right now with the pandemic and the cost of supplies and also getting supplies. So as far as I know, that's what Jason Fink had let us know from the chamber. So we're right on schedule with everything as long as we can keep moving forward.
Yep. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the agreement with Montgomery Water Authority?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, so carried.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Shannon.
7.4, Jenny Picciano, voting on Second Amendment to agreement with ATC Group.
Morning, Jenny.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a second amendment with ATC Group for design and engineering of the Riverwalk extension. And this will be a one-year grant extension to finalize the design and engineering of the trail. Last month, we actually extended our grant contract with DCNR, and this is the related extension for our contractor.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Jenny also has 7.5 and 7.6. They're sub-recipient agreements.
Okay.
Sure. The first sub-recipient agreement is with Greater Lycoming Habitat for Humanity for $55,000 for construction of a single-family home on Diamond Street in Williamsport, and that is funded with fair funds.
Okay. And we want to thank the Habitat for Humanity. They do great work and restoring these homes. And this is another home that can be taken care of underneath this agreement. Any questions? Comments?
No, and just a comment that we know for those in the public who don't know Habitat for Humanity, when they build these homes, the people who are going to occupy them participate by putting in sweat equity, and then of course there are many volunteers who are there to help people learn the construction aspect of it. So it's, again, teaching people how to fish, and it's very welcome in our community, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to teach those skills. Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, so carried.
All right, and the next one is with the YWCA. It's the 2020 Fair Sub-Recipient Agreement for $70,000, and that's also with FAIR funds, and FAIR stands for the Pennsylvania Housing Affordability and Rehabilitation Enhancement Fund. So that is our grant for 2020 with the YWCA, and that's for support for the Liberty House, and that project also includes case management for supportive housing services.
Yeah, and I work directly in my previous employment with the county, with the Liberty House and with the YWCA. Liberty House brings great value to our county, and it's a great opportunity for housing.
And I also want to just say thanks to the YW for being there as a resource in our county. It means basically that if organizations like the Y weren't there, there are people who would be literally whose lives would be in danger. So we do want to thank them, and it's a good use of that. Those FAIR funds come from the gas drilling also, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So that's at the state level. The state appropriates a certain amount of money, and we've always been successful in being able to bring that money back to the county.
Yes, and in 2020, the county applied for $990,000 in Act 13 Marcellus Shale funds. And we turned right around and distributed that money back in the community to support housing programs.
And that's different than the Act 13 money that Commissioner Massar and Metzger referred to earlier.
Yes, this is specifically for housing.
Right.
And it's vital to have this resource. The YW does wonderful work with our domestic violence, the victims, and it's so needed in the area and really needed throughout the nation. Domestic violence is a major concern, and it's getting worse with the pandemic. With people being in homes, not being able to go out, and you're going to see those numbers continue to climb. So to have that in our backyard is an asset. We thank you, the staff at YWCA. Can I have a motion to accept that sub-recipient monitoring contract with the YWCA?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, side?
Aye.
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 7.7, Jason Yorks. Jason, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Jason?
Good morning, Commissioners. First purchase is for your approval is the purchase of a new 2021 Cat D4 dozer for the amount of $175,271. This is purchased through CoStars. It does come back with possible buybacks if we decide to utilize that, and we will be trading in our 2008 D6K on this purchase.
Okay, so you're trading in a piece of machinery that's 13 years old?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is a budgeted item?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions or comments?
And these dozers work up on the face, right? So they're constantly in the heat shade.
Commissioner, this D4, which just so everybody understands, we're comparing apples to apples. Caterpillar across the board on their dozer line has renamed the machine. So
Okay.
in 2021, what was a D6 is now a D4. I do not understand the purpose of the rebranding because people have called D6s D6s forever. Now we're going to have to learn that they're D4s. So this current machine is what we use with low ground pressure. We use this a lot for the dirt work. This will be the machine when we're grading, final grade and stuff out over on the farm, or what we've talked about with Timber Run. When we're putting dirt piles up, we use this with our GPS system for final grades on all the slopes.
Okay.
This machine does not push garbage.
Jason, you have any idea how many hours a year on the average this machine might be used?
I would say, sir, we're well over 1,500 easily, because if you figure 2,080 hours for a normal work week or normal work year, we're pushing it. We've had some mechanical issues with this 2008, and that's why we want to send it down the road. And the price is very good on the D4, and they're also now we're able to utilize buyback programs that we're getting back into. So if we have any problems with this one, we can have a guaranteed buyback price.
Okay, so this is a dozer, it's constantly in use.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So our
So Jason, now that I think about it, how much are the dozers that end up pushing the garbage? They're like
the
close to
D8s are
half a
currently around 800, 850, 850,000.
Okay.
And they come with a whole different package of, they're a much larger machine, and they're also protected to try to protect them from the garbage.
Okay, any other comments or questions? You're not going to have a motion.
So
I'll
moved.
move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. So carried.
Commissioners, the next line item, really want to give a shout out. All three of the items I have, we've used purchasing programs. This next one with Cintas Uniform was an original contract signed in 2014. The last time we had a price increase was 2015, but we are now able to use a program called Omnia Partners, which is a natural purchasing co-op. Steve Sims did his due diligence and worked with Cintas. So we were able to offer, for your approval, a new 5-year contract extension with no cost increases. And this will take us till April of 2026.
Thank you to Steve for doing that. Is there any comments on the agreement?
No, but a big thanks to Steve for doing the work.
Yep.
And of course, like all the things here, this is coming out of revenue from the landfill and not the tax dollars, just so the public is aware when they see these expenses. The revenue that the landfill generates before it puts in the general fund 1.9 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions or comments? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So carried.
Thank you, Commissioners. And lastly is a 2021 budgeted item that we brought before you in early 2020 for approval for this year. Is its machine is a 2020, but it's brand new brush hog flex wing mower for the amount of $27,349.30. This is purchased through the Sourcewell purchasing program, and it is, again, it's an item that we brought before you last year for this year's approval for the budget. So,
Okay, any questions or comments?
I guess, sir, I forgot to mention, this will be a purchase we're making through Rovendale Ag and Barn.
Okay, it's also a budgeted item.
Yes.
Okay.
And tell them how much land you're over there. How many acres are you trying to keep under control? With your
Well into 900. We have a significant amount of ground, and this will allow us to really get in along the edges. If you guys know, we always have that monofloor rows and stuff come in, so this helps us keep the slopes or the edges of the fields and stuff so good.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. So carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Jason.
Nice day.
You too.
Commissioners comment?
I just have two comments. For the staff out there at the landfill, Jason Yorks, whenever we call him up, whether it's a municipality or the county, he's right there. And we use his staff and we use his equipment. It's unbelievable how he can respond to us and get things done. And to Ken George, Commissioner Marabito and I went up, at least it's the first time I've been up there in a while, and Bernardi, Gene, Mark Bernardi. We're using inmates up there, pre-release. And when you take a look at the job that these guys are doing, it's better than any major construction company that I know. I'm being serious about that. And when you see how these pre-release inmates are into that job, they're taking pride in it. They're learning a trade, and by doing so, it opens up the door for them to get hired within an industry that needs so many people. There's a shortage of workers, and I'll guarantee you they'll have jobs when they leave the pre-release with contractors throughout this town.
Absolutely.
Great job.
Okay. Commissioner Marabito?
Yeah, I'll echo that and, say that it's really quite impressive and both Ken George's leadership over there and Mr. Bernardi and all the staff, just all the attention to detail that someone would put into a project who was building their own home. And it does make one feel very proud to have these county employees because they really do care and they understand when you listen to Ken describing well look, we did this type of installation for the first half of the wall because if we happen to get any water coming in, we don't want to have to be replacing all the insulation, and all we'll have to do is take the drywall and just just using all the years of experience he has to put it together for the taxpayers. And I know it's hard for our taxpayers, but it's just, they should feel good to know that the work that they're getting is really top notch. So thanks to all of them. I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner McBrayer.
Okay, anything else? Public comment. Mr. Stout.
Yes, Larry Stout with Web Weekly and also a resident of Clinton Township. I just want to add my compliments to the commissioners for the last at least 5-6 years that I've been doing the articles on county government, and honestly, I have been around other entities. The amount of transparency, the amount of openness is remarkable. And even I've been in other countries, and I can tell you this place, it's refreshing that you're not trying to hide anything. And if it's bad news, you tell us, here it is, it's bad news. And I just find that's very commendable. I have a suggestion that came to me today while I was interviewing Forrest Lehman concerning the May election. They spend enormous amounts of time on, forgive me, but frivolous phone calls that come in. And I imagine that there's other departments that have that. I would like to suggest, and I know budget is super, super tight, but a county hotline where it would be a 1-800 number. You got a question about something related to the county, you could call. And if a lot of this information is already on the website. I mean, but people just get something, and that way, if it really does require a county official to do something, then their time would be more wisely used. But every time something shows up on social media or something, everybody, once they pick up the phone, and somebody has to answer that call. Somebody has to respond to that. And that takes them away from doing other things. So I know this is, like I said, this is a cost item, but that could be outsourced. And apparently other counties do this, have a hotline. And so I'd just like to throw that out for the sake of, you don't want to lose really good, valuable people because they just get tired of endless minutia. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for compliments.
Any other public comment at this time? Okay, hearing none. Okay, hearing none, we are adjourned. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, March 23rd, here in this room, and I believe tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day, so everybody have a good St. Patrick's Day. Break out your green and have a good week. Thank you.
Are we meeting down here or upstairs?
Upstairs, I think. Or no, it's downstairs.
Yeah, can I send it to you? I didn't put it on here, but I'll send one to you. Yeah.
You know, Eileen.
He has no idea
Eileen?
what he's doing.
Yes.
He has no idea what he's doing for.
Okay.
Yeah. Crazy what?
Okay.
It's a little complicated.